नहमदु व नसल्ली अला रसूलिहिल करीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम क़ाल रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली सदक़ल्लाहुल अज़ीम. At the outset, I will like to invoke my personal experience after having taken over this gigantic responsibility of Chairman National Technology Council, which was an absolutely new institution, and its objectives were to regulate the technology education, focusing more on the skill. In other words, emphasizing more on the skill of the technicians and technologists, even engineers, than to be focusing on the theoretical aspects. When I say theoretical aspects, goes without saying that these three regulators in the form of Washington Accord, which regulates engineering education per se, from education to post-education employment. And then we have a Sydney Accord, which is totally dedicated to the technology education, exactly on the similar line as Washington Accord deals with engineering. There is yet a third protocol, which is very less known, by the name of Dublin Protocol, which exclusively focuses on the skill levels of the technicians, or in other words, what they call as engineering technicians. So my views and my observations, backed by about 40 years of experience in the field of engineering and technology, was that where there was a dire need of ensuring synergy of scientists, engineers, technologists, and technicians, we found it absolutely in the opposite. That is, instead of synergizing the effort of engineers and technologists, we were virtually, forgive me for using this word, we were on a collision course with each other, as a result of which a lot of our very national level important projects, either they were delayed or they were cost overruns in that projects. So my endeavor right from the very beginning was, in the light of the directions given by International Engineering Alliance, once again at the risk of repetition, I like to explain that all these protocols, Washington Protocol, Sydney Protocol, and Dublin Protocol, and even inclusive of yet another, which is the Seoul Protocol, which focuses on the IT-related issues all over the world. The International Engineering Alliance gives out the accreditation parameters of the institutions which are offering these courses, whereas they also laid down the graduate attributes of various graduates which are educated in the higher education institutions, i.e. in the universities across the length and breadth of the country. The other aspect of following these protocols was that our graduates, starting from engineers to technologists to technicians, they should have a global recognition in line with the outcome-based education parameters which the Engineering Alliance has laid down through these protocols which I just mentioned. So our effort was to interact with the higher education institutions along the length and breadth of the country, and ensuring that in the light of those global protocols, all institutions, irrespective of the background or despite their wide and various canvas, like just to give you example, there are universities which are designated as University of Science and Technology, University of Engineering and Technology, but mostly I found out they were focusing more on the engineering, while at the cost of not giving due share of attention to the technology education. So consequently, this resulted into some kind of a double jeopardy. A, that we did not develop the technology education in line with the engineering education so as to enable them to work jointly for the overall collective welfare of the industry, and are, in other words, contributing towards the national economy. So whatever time we had, starting from 2016 onwards, we focused on convincing the higher education institutions, in other words, the universities, to ensure that they follow the curriculum which is in line with the international standards. And by the grace of Allah, most of those programs which we accredited at the level of universities, they were either following those protocols or they were online with that protocol. The most difficult portion was of the affiliated institutions with the universities, because they are given the affiliation after having evaluated their infrastructure, and which included primarily of the faculties and labs, etc. Because once again, just to highlight the difference between the engineering education and the technology education in the light of engineering alliance, that is International Engineering Alliance, is that engineering is 80% biased towards cognitive, that is theory, and 20% practical. Whereas in the light of the guideline given by the Sydney Accord, the technology education is the other way around. Or to put it in a quantitative form, it is 70% practical and only 25 to 30% theory. Goes without saying that universities, by virtue of their autonomy and by virtue of the liberty that they have, they can always play around between 70 and 80%, and in technology between 60 to 75%. So in line with that, the total input to the technology education has to be from the those individuals whom we call as diploma holders, who do 3 years of education after matriculation. So when I refer to the engineering technicians, I meant those people who are certified by the commission, which is dedicated to ensuring the quality of the education of the technicians. As earlier on I mentioned that after having carried out a complete appraisal of the infrastructure of the skill university, I had no doubt in my mind that the graduates or the individuals who will be qualified through this institution will be able to meet the aspirations of our industrial infrastructure in the country, be it in the defense, public and private sector. And this is very, very pleasant to realize that this institution has for the first time established the need and essence of skill in training of the technicians and technologists. And I'm sure that while we have world-class engineers, scientists, we have not been able to live up to the international standards as far as the skill is concerned. And goes without saying that the era of carrying out an appraisal of the degrees that are printed has long passed now. It is only the capacity or the capability of the individual to undertake the work which is required in a particular discipline of engineering or technology.